Hey everybody, and welcome to a brand new review on Lincoln Rock Reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing Killswitch Engage, the 2000 Self-Titled album. So, I had to just kind of clear things up really quickly. I will be doing the non-point review very soon. I just wanted to give myself a little extra time with that one. I wanted to make it sure it's a really good review for you. Because I haven't super hardcore listened to it a lot lately. So I wanted to take my time and let's go have a couple or 3 or 4 playthroughs and really let it sink in again to get that more accurate review for you guys. So I chose to do an older album that I really like, and I think it would be just a really fun review to do. So I've actually been meaning to do this review, and I wanted to do an entire review for this entire band, their whole discography and everything. So I will be erasing the old Incarnate review because, like I said, I wanted to redo it. It got a little screwed up, and I wanted to get a better version of that out and just kind of ready for you guys. So I decided I'm going to spend the time and actually do a couple of other reviews before getting to that. So we're going to actually start with their debut album, which will kind of start the discography, and it's going to be out of order. I'm not going to do it in order, because after this, the only Killswitch Engage album I'm going to do after this is Incarnate, because I do want to get that out somewhat soon, but we'll kind of see how that goes. Alright, so enough of my rambling. It's time to get into the review. I absolutely have to stop and say, this album is killer, and you're going to hear me praise this album. I really like this album, but the one thing you're going to notice is I will continually reference the album after this, because this started the path that led to that album, but I still think that other album is much better, and I'll continually talk about that, but I still absolutely love this album. And let's immediately start with the track listing. We'll start getting in and start rating all the tracks for you. So, Temple from the Within. This is the song that starts the album off. I absolutely love this song. This is also one of the songs that was actually redone and put on the next album, which is called Alive or Just Breathing. This is probably my favorite Killswitch song, and I don't know 100% why it's my absolute favorite, but it always comes back and takes that top spot. I also, between the two different versions, sometimes I like this version better, but sometimes I like the other version better. And it's kind of a toss-up between the two versions. There's some little quirks on this version that I like specifically better than the other version, but on the other version, it's cleaner. It's got that better production value. And it's just heavier at points even too. So I really do kind of like both. And I have to say, for Temple from the Within was a perfect way to start this album. So that, I'm going to give it, of course, a 5 out of 5. Now, this next one was also remade for the next album. It's called Vide Infra. This is a really solid track. I'd always say that if you wanted to get into some early Killswitch Engage, this is one of those songs that I typically point out. I think it's just a good, solid song to get into, and it was also, again, on the main version of Alive or Just Breathing. So then you get into Irreversal. This is another really cool track. I feel like this one was like, after those first 2 tracks, they were really heavy and they put it in your face. And they didn't stop with that. This kind of broke it up a little bit and gave you a little bit of a different flavor. But it kind of had some different moments in it that were, I think, really unique. And unfortunately, this wasn't remade till the special edition of The End of Heartache. So it was remade, but it wasn't remade with Jesse. And there was nothing against Howard on that. I did like the way Howard, I do like Howard as a vocalist. And you'll notice that. I really do like Howard and his era with the band. But Personally, I prefer Jesse, and I think it would have been really cool to see Jesse actually do this one. But the remade version was with Howard on this. So it did get remade, just like the last two tracks, but it was on the End of Heartache Special Edition. So I think that's the only one that was remade at a different point. The rest of them were remade for the Elaborate Just Breathing or the Elaborate Just Breathing Special Edition. And we'll get to that other track soon here. And then we jump into the song Rusted Embrace. It's the fourth track on the album. Definitely a really cool one. It's a solid track. It wasn't particularly my favorite. I thought it was a good track, don't get me wrong. But it just felt like filler almost. But it was a solid track. And then you go into the fifth track. This is actually called Prelude, and it's basically an instrumental. It's a really heavy instrumental, and I think it's probably, in my opinion, it's one of the better metal instrumentals ever. I really, really enjoy that song. I think it was a really cool intro, and I've always been, in metal bands, I always try to convince the band, if we're going to do a Killswitch song, let's do Prelude into a Killswitch song. I always just thought that would be just a really cool idea. And, I mean, it works with 90% of their material, which is really, really cool. And I definitely really dig that song. And then it jumps into Soilborn, sorry. I just also noticed that we didn't rate the last two tracks. Irreversible is 4 out of 5. Rusted Embrace 3 out of 5. And then Prelude is a 5 out of 5 because I absolutely love that song. So, Soilborn. This is probably one of my other huge favorites off the album, and lo and behold, it was actually the first Killswitch song ever. It was the first song that they actually sat down as a band and wrote, and it was the first demo they did. And, of course, this is, like, one of the better songs on this album, I actually really feel like. I really love this song. It's something about this was just so heavy and just, it was one of those songs you don't typically forget off this album, and I definitely really enjoyed that. So I give that, of course, a 5 out of 5. So then you go into Numbsick Eyes. This is one of the, again, kind of like Rusted Embrace. It just feels like it was there to be a solid song on the record, and wasn't particularly my favorite, but again, I probably going to give it the same rating, about a 3 out of 5. So then we go into In the Unblind. This is like a classic Killswitch song, I feel like, but I don't know how many people really know it or not. But it was also redone on the special edition of Elaborate Just Breathing. This one's definitely one of the better. I think one of the more standout tracks for people. But you know, it was to me, it's like a classic Killswitch song. Whatever, I know they played it a lot live, and it was a pretty good song. I think it also did show up on, I think it might have showed up on the Roadrunner United like CD that they did, the label. They actually did like a CD that had In the Unblind on it, and several other songs from other bands on there. But definitely, it's a really solid track. It's definitely one of the better ones off the album, and I give that a 4 out of 5. Then we go into One Last Sunset. So this was actually probably one of my absolute favorite outro tracks for an album ever. I really think they did a great job with that, and it's just a phenomenal outro track. I really enjoyed the way they crafted that together, and I think it was a great ending to the album. So I'm definitely going to give that one a 5 out of 5. So the reissue of this actually came in about 2003, I want to say. 2003, maybe 2004. It was somewhere before or just at, it was either before End of Heartache or just after Alive or Just Breathing, and it was kind of in that era, and it was a reissue from the actual original label that they were on when they did this, and it did come with, like, I think there was 4 demos for sure. I just can't remember exactly which songs it were. I think it was, I want to say, Prelude, and Soilborn, of course. Those were the, main ones. I think maybe In the Unblind and Divide Infra. I just want to say those 4 songs. I could be completely wrong on that, so don't quote me, but I believe those were the songs that were the demos. I actually own the reissued version. I think that's the only one you can get a hold of. And actually, the cover art that I used in the thumbnail for this video was actually the reissue cover art. It was not the original cover art. So if you wanted to see the original cover art, you could just go look it up. It's more of a red, green, and kind of a yellowish theme going on, and it's similar. It's got the basic same background art, and then it's just got a different version of the Killswitch logo, and basically it's just close to the same thing. But I prefer the blue kind of look better, and I definitely prefer the blue version better. So yeah, just go ahead and check that out if you want to. You can see the original artwork versus the new artwork. So yeah, that's the big thing there, is the reissue did come with 4 demos. So that did kind of buff the length, but they're basically the same songs. The demo versions were not heavily different from the versions you actually hear on the album, which is kind of, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Some bands really have some very, very different versions of demos, that when you go and listen to it, like a good example is Seether. When you go and listen to, well, actually, they're technically not demos, but the original, their very first album, when they were called Sauron Gas, some of the songs on that album, when they redid them for the new Disclaimer album, they actually completely changed them almost. There was like full sections that were completely altered, and a lot of bands do that. So it was kind of a little bit surprising to basically go through and just hear them, and they're basically the same song, just a different quality, and you can tell it was more of a demo. But it was still, it's still cool to actually be able to hear some of the original, cut and takes of the actual songs. So my big complaints with the album definitely was the fact that it was a tad short, and it's only 9 songs and 2 were instrumentals. It kind of bothered me. I wanted some more out of this album. I wanted to hear more. I wanted to, have a little bit more out of this album. I kept thinking that the entire time I listened to it. And it's the one major thing that bugs me about it, but I don't hold it too harshly against them. They were, of course, an unsigned band. I know that a lot of people don't want to release too much music. You want to have a really solid first album when you actually get, signed and famous. And I can understand kind of, maybe they didn't want to release too many songs before they were famous, but it makes sense. So my other thing is it maybe could have had better production value. Just maybe. I'm not gonna really gripe on that. I understand it's a self-made album. It was done. Literally, Adam sat down in, like, I don't think he actually sat down in a real studio. I think they were doing it in a basement. I believe when I read about it, and I can't complain. There's great quality for what the hell it is. That's fucking awesome. I really enjoy that, and I can't complain too much, but I think I would like to hear a little bit better quality of some of these songs, and that's where Alive or Just Breathing came in, like, really hardcore for me. Everything that I had a complaint about on this album was completely changed when you brought out the massive, just killer Alive or Just Breathing album, and that will be one of the next Killswitch reviews that I do. Of course, my next one is, like I said, it's going to be Incarnate, but definitely I'm going to be doing Alive or Just Breathing at some point soon here. So my top 3 songs on here, obviously Temple from the Within, like I had said, that's absolutely one of my favorites. Soilborn, I still think that's one of the absolute best songs on here, and I was upset that they never redid it. I would have loved to hear a redone version. Maybe, just maybe, they'll put it as a bonus track on the next, big album that they do. I think that would be just badass and a great callback to their earliest days. The other track would be One Last Sunset. I absolutely love that. I think it's one of the most badass outro tracks ever. I think they did a really fantastic job. And that's really where some of the musicality of this band really shines. And I definitely enjoyed that. So then we're going to give an overall score for it, of course. I want to say I'm going to give it a 9 out of 12. It's a great album. It's a great album. I really do just feel like it deserves a bit a high rating. Sorry, but I didn't want to put it up too high because I do think there are some Killswitch albums that are much better than this one, and but for me, and for everybody that's a fan, from this era, this started it. This was the beginning. This was their uprising. Without this album, I don't think you'd have Alive or Just Breathing, which to me is their absolute best album ever. And you would definitely hear me go on about that when we get to that review. So I definitely love this record. And I had to give it some kind of praise. I had to give it a higher rating because I really feel like it deserves it. And it's such a solid record. And I think, to be honest with you, I would go out on a limb and say that it is one of the heaviest modern metal records ever. I actually believe that full-heartedly, and I think probably, in my opinion, the two heaviest modern metal albums ever are LD50 by Mudvayne and Alive or Just Breathing. And I do think that this one comes up as a close second or third. It is a great album. I definitely urge heavy metal fans that are more into the modern style metal to definitely go check out this album. You won't be disappointed. Alright, so guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. I have, hopefully, the non-point review coming soon, and a few other reviews I'm working on. I did have a problem when I was going to film the second episode of the Lincoln Rock Show. Sorry, I've been stuttering over my words today, so I apologize if that kind of annoys you. I don't mean to, but I'm also a little bit sick. I've been also trying to hold in coughs this entire video. I know it. I know people do not like when people are sitting and doing reviews or just sitting and doing a video and they're coughing the entire time. So I've been trying to hold that in. So I've been kind of taking breath in between everything, and I kind of stop and stutter and kind of, do that throughout the whole video. So I do heavily apologize for that. But hopefully we have the Lincoln Rock Show episode 2 coming soon. I had a problem with it when I went to go do the filming of it. My guest, the person I want to have as a guest for it, unfortunately couldn't come over the day that he had off of work, and it's an okay thing. I get it. So hopefully I will catch him on his next day off, and we'll get that done for you, and I really hope that'll be soon, but there's no absolute 100% guarantee. I want to take the time to really get those episodes really good, so I want to do it. I want to have at least 2 or 3 days that I can sit and mess with the video and get it as good as I can get it. So I really hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more reviews. And if you want to, I'm going to leave it in my description. I have a Instagram that you can follow, as well as a Twitter that you can follow, and a Facebook page for the channel. So 3 of the big social medias. You can go and check them out and follow me, or basically just say hi or send me stuff, and hopefully we'll have some more new reviews soon. I've been working on some some other stuff that I'm not going to talk about yet. We'll get around to that. I'm also been working on the secondary channel that I'm going to be hopefully premiering soon. I've got a great idea for a first video, and it's more of a really talkative channel. It's kind of really thought-provoking, and it's based on more comic book stuff and like comic book movies, superhero stuff, like sci-fi stuff. It's kind of be, you know, based in kind of more of a nerd realm, if you if you wish. So we're gonna be getting that out soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to, and I will see you guys soon.